Here in Northwestern State head coach Brad Laird, the Demons coming off an open week. And Coach, before we get into talking about Nicholls, Saturday's opponent, what did you accomplish this weekend? I mean, this past week, I guess, trying to strike that balance between rest and staying sharp.
Yeah, and that's the thing that we had to look at. I mean, we've, over the course of the first 5 weeks, I mean, you've had some guys that have played 60, 70 snaps a game, over the course of 5 weeks, 300 plus some significant snaps that they've taken. And, so you got specific guys that probably that need that break on their body, but it's a fine line because there's things that we got to get better at. 2 is, those guys that are taking the 300 plus snaps over the first 5 weeks, we got to find some guys that can step and fulfill and be able to get quality snaps a game. So it was a combination of, we did some live stuff with some guys that have not gotten significant reps to be able to evaluate as a staff. We sat down and watched it as a staff to be able to see who's putting on film things that are going to allow us to put them in games on Saturdays. And so we did that for, really Tuesday, Wednesday, as far as the live stuff with that. Some of the non-live work that we did, we worked third downs. That was a big emphasis in red zone. On both sides of the ball, we have not been successful in the red zone, and so we were able to work that last week, good on good. And we'll continue to work that this week, good on good. So, you saw a combination of some live work last week with guys that maybe have not got significant reps, and then you saw some situational work with guys that on things that we needed to improve on from the first 5 weeks.
Health is always something during a bye week. You look to get healthy, you look to get some guys back. You've had a couple of them come back, Desmond Prejean being one of those. I know he hadn't gotten a lot of snaps since he's been back, but just to see him work back, and I know it seemed he was poised to have a really good year last year before getting hurt. Good to see him working his way back, and hopefully that's maybe the tip of the iceberg, get some guys back.
Yeah, and some guys that hadn't even played. You take a Hayden Bourgeois that has not stepped foot on the field, and able to get some of those guys going during open week from a limited aspect. We'll see how it goes this week as far as pushing them just a little bit more to see their capability of playing live reps on Saturday. I think, if you compare our roster from, I guess, Southeastern to where it possibly could be versus Nicholls, the opportunity to get some guys back and healthy, probably more so on the defensive side of the ball, with some major guys that were down against Southeastern, hopefully getting those guys back.
And I know, especially you mentioned the defensive side of the ball, but the offensive line, even just getting them off their feet a little ways, because you've had some guys who have fought through some bumps and bruises. You've started the same offensive line all 5 games, which is good for continuity, but also, as you mentioned, kind of developing that depth. Brody Griffin getting back was a big step for you guys.
Yeah, and the step that those guys, we needed to see them take this week, a Brody Griffin and a Parker Fink, guys that have gotten some reps and some significant snaps that we needed to continue to see because of what they do in practice is that deserving to be able to get more reps on Saturday, and that's the thing that we were hoping to see this past week as we went back and evaluated kind of where we are.
You guys head down to Nicholls, just the second home game for them. They spent the entire month of September on the road, came back and defeated Central Arkansas. And this is kind of where that schedule really, you've played 3 ranked teams in the first 5 games, and you played 1 FBS ranked team in LSU, 1 FCS ranked team, and 1 Division II ranked team. So the schedule doesn't get any easier, but this really seems to be, and it seems to be October every year, seems to be the teeth of your schedule.
Yeah, and the thing about the conference, week in and week out, whether they're ranked or not ranked, you're going to get that, as far as, because I think there's a lot of parity within the conference. But talking about Nicholls, I think that being their first home game, you could tell because that was probably their most complete game. For a team that had not been home all of September, to finally get back to be able to playing at home and playing a UCA team that had been playing very well. And you really saw a complete game in all three phases by Nicholls last Saturday.
What they've done in the past 3 or 4 years under Coach Tim Rebo has been to build a program, and I know that's something that a lot of places can take and kind of look at as a bit of a model. He came in a tough situation, and they turned around very quickly, and guys like Sully Lesh on the defensive line and Chase Forcade on the offense really seem to be the drivers.
Yeah, and driving that bus is Chase. Being a 4-year starter, his leadership capabilities that he shows, and you could see on film. You've seen it live. The things that he's able to do, whether it's throwing the football, running the football, being a leader, and I think like you talked about Sully on the defensive side of the ball, very similar. That type of leadership ability that they have, and those guys have kind of run with it. They put pieces in the puzzle together from a football perspective, from a facility perspective, and the success that they've had, I guess, over the couple of years that in turn kind of got them where they were as far as preseason ranking this year, but ultimately, 5 games through, a top 10 team. So, we're looking forward to the opportunity to again showcase what we can be on Saturday night, being consistent in all 3 phases.
You guys recruit Louisiana very well, and I know there's still a pretty good number of South Louisiana guys on this roster. So a chance, you talked about an opportunity to go home and play in front of maybe mom, dad, sister, brother, cousin who doesn't always get to make the trip to Natchitoches. Some guys will have maybe a little extra in the tank. Yeah,
I mean, and as we go to these different places that's a little bit closer to certain guys, they're going to have more people in the stands, more family there, and that always gets you going a little bit because, you want to do your very best in front of family. And, so we're going to have some guys that are going to have that opportunity this week.
Bit of a unique matchup. They won't be on the field at the same time. They're both offensive guys, but Chris Zirkle from here, the offensive lineman, and their running back, Dontrell Taylor, are the 2 Southland Conference players who are on the semifinalist list for the Campbell Trophy. So kind of a unique matchup in that you've got 2 guys who are being honored for the wholeness of being a student athlete on the field.
Yeah, and the athlete part of it is just a minor part, I think, in that great accomplishment that both of those guys, and I can't speak on his behalf, I can speak on Chris, but you don't get there from just your what you do on the field. You get there because of what you do in the classroom, what you do in the community, what you do to help this football team to be the best that it can be, and there's so many criteria that goes along with that award, and that's what makes it special, because it's not just the athlete, it's not just the student part, it's not just the community service, it's a combination of all 3, and congratulations to those 2 guys.
All right, Coach, thanks so much.
Thank you.